sides of the football in the pros.
Yeah. It's so funny because Shedeur just left. Like, he literally just left before we turned on the camera.
Oh.
Travis could definitely do that. I mean, he's going to do that, or they shouldn't draft him. Don't do that. And I'm going to make sure that. Don't draft him. If you're not going to give him an opportunity to play on both sides of the ball. Now, you could be creative. He don't have to do what we did with him here and play every snap. But he's going to just say he's starting the corner.
How could two bad teams, how many wins do the Raiders have? 2?
Yeah.
We have 2.
Something's got to give.
Has a 4-win matchup ever been as massive
I mean, it's
to
amazing.
us?
It's amazing.
I mean, come on. This
My heart is beating to my
gigantic.
chest.
We are going to be
And it's
watching
not just my cholesterol.
like it's the Chiefs
so big.
and the Browns in the playoffs. That's
point.
how we're going to be analyzing everything.
He knows that there's things that he has to work on and steps that he has to take. But overall, you know, he was just harping on the fact that he's going to lean into whatever Todd Monken has him do, and he's not going to overly stress himself either. But even listening to that answer, you know, for me, I want Shedeur to have a clear idea looking at tape from last year. Don't just kind of go through the motions, and I'm not saying he's doing this. I'm being colloquial now, just having cute videos for Exos.
On Sunday, he either becomes the Browns' future or proves he never was. Signs of the football in the pro? Yeah, it's so funny because Shedeur just left Deion Sanders. Just blew the roof off the entire NFL. Not with a tweet, not with a press conference, with audio. So, don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? Let's begin. When I heard this, I had to stop everything. I'm not even exaggerating. I was mid-scroll, half paying attention like it was just another Sunday headline, and then I realized what this actually was. Not a screenshot, not a league sources say, not some anonymous quote that gets walked back 2 hours later. This was audio. Real, recorded audio. A coach's voice. The kind of thing you can't spin once it's out in the wild. And that's why the whole leak word doesn't even fit. Because leaks usually feel messy, accidental. Somebody got careless. Somebody hit send when they shouldn't have. This felt like a button being pressed on purpose. Like a trapdoor opening exactly when it was supposed to. Deion Sanders didn't let something slip. He dropped it like a chess move. Quiet, cold, calculated. Because, listen, rumors come and go in the NFL every single day. We live in the rumor mill. We're used to hearing, a team is interested, or a coach likes him, or front office is split. And half the time, it's somebody protecting their job, or somebody trying to move a line, or some agent putting pressure on a team. We've all learned to take that stuff with a grain of salt. But audio is different. Audio is a receipt. Audio is a fingerprint. Audio is the moment where you can't hide behind "I never said that," because, yeah, you did. We can hear you. That's your voice. That's your tone. That's the urgency. And once that exists, the entire conversation changes. Because now, it's not just about Shedeur Sanders as a prospect. It's about what the NFL really is behind the curtain. It's about how these teams play both sides. How they posture in public like, "Hey, we're not sure." And then behind closed doors, it's, "Please, do whatever you have to do. Make sure he's there when we pick." That's what makes this explosive. Not the drama for drama's sake, but what it exposes. And it hits harder, because it confirms what fans have been feeling for a minute. There's the public NFL, and there's the private NFL. The public NFL is press conferences, polished quotes, calculated skepticism. The private NFL is panic, desperation, and coaches trying to save their future with one quarterback. So no, this isn't gossip. This is NFL-altering information. Because once you put a coach in the spotlight like this, a head coach, not some scout intern, you're messing with reputations. You're messing with draft narratives. You're messing with how front offices trust their own staff. You're messing with league integrity. Because the draft process is supposed to be clean, and this kind of behind-the-scenes begging, that's the stuff nobody wants to talk about out loud. And this is where Deion comes in. Because people love to paint him like he's emotional, loud, reactive, doing things for attention. But this wasn't attention. This was leverage. This was Deion telling the league, "You can play your games, but so can I." He's not just protecting his son, he's controlling the temperature of the entire room. And the scariest part? The timing. Because if this audio exists, and it's being released now, then this isn't random. It's not a tantrum. It's a message, a warning, a shift in power. And once you understand why this came out now, you'll realize the league just lost control of the narrative. They told us one story in public and lived a completely different one in private. That's the part people need to really sit with now, because this audio didn't just shake up Shedeur Sanders' narrative, it exposed how fake the entire draft conversation around him really was. For months, we heard the same recycled talking points. He's talented, but the arm strength is good, but you know, the system, the transition, the baggage. Always a but. Always something just vague enough to sound smart without actually saying anything. But if you actually watch the tape, not the highlight reels, not the clips on social media, the real game film, you saw something different. You saw a quarterback who processes fast. You saw a guy who gets the ball out on time, who understands leverage, who can throw with anticipation, not just reaction. You saw accuracy to all three levels. You saw pocket presence that held up even when the protection didn't. And anyone who knows ball knows this. Those traits translate. They always have. This isn't some raw athlete who needs 3 years to learn how to read a defense. This isn't a guy living off backyard throws and busted coverages. Shedeur was winning from the pocket. He was manipulating safeties with his eyes. He was taking hits, getting up, and making the next throw. That's NFL stuff, period. So why did the public story feel so cold? Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just a quarterback, he's Deion Sanders' son. And that changes everything. Teams don't just evaluate the player, they evaluate the ecosystem. The questions weren't really about accuracy or footwork. They were about control, about optics, about whether drafting him meant drafting prime along with him. And instead of saying that part out loud, teams hid behind football reasons. And here's where the game gets dirty. NFL teams lie publicly all the time. Not because they're evil, because leverage matters. If you show your hand, you lose power. If you hype a player too early, you invite competition. If you admit you love a quarterback, you risk another team jumping you or forcing you to trade up. So what do? You downplay. You cool the market. You let the media do the dirty work for you. And the media? They amplify it. One analyst says it, another repeats it, a third adds their own spin. Suddenly it feels like consensus, even if it started as strategy. That's how echo chambers form. That's how narratives harden. And that's exactly what happened here. Because behind closed doors, coaches were calling. Privately. Urgently. Saying the quiet part out loud. That's what the audio confirms. Not a theory. Not fan bias. Proof. They doubted him publicly. They chased him privately. They doubted him publicly. They chased him privately. And once you hear that, you can't unhear it. The whole debate shifts. The question stops being, is Shedeur good enough? And becomes, why did they pretend he wasn't? And the answer is uncomfortable for the league. Because this was never about talent. It was about control. The criticism was loud, but the pressure on Shedeur Sanders was even louder. Because once the conversation turned, it really turned. All of a sudden, every flaw was magnified. Every miss was dissected. Every sack was blamed on him. Pocket movement became a problem. Escaping pressure became panic. Standing tall became holding the ball too long. No matter what he did, there was always a new angle to question it from. And this is where context matters. Real football context. Because bad offensive lines ruin young quarterbacks. Period. We've seen it over and over again. You put a rookie behind leaky protection and then act surprised when his footwork gets rushed. When his internal clock speeds up. When he starts moving to survive instead of stepping up to throw. That's not a character flaw. That's self-preservation. Watch the games. There were stretches where Shedeur didn't have the luxury of a clean pocket. Edge pressure coming free. Interior collapse. Roots still developing while defenders are already in his lap. And somehow, The expectation was that he should play like he's behind an elite NFL line. That's not how this works. And when he did make plays under that pressure, when he stood in and delivered, when he took hits and popped back up, when he dragged his team through games with precision throws, it still wasn't enough. The bar for him wasn't good. It was perfect. Anything less than flawless became proof that the doubts were justified. Think about some of the other young quarterbacks we've watched over the years. Guys who struggled early. Guys who missed reads. Guys who bailed clean pockets. Guys who threw ugly interceptions. They got patience. They got development narratives. Just give him time. He's learning. The situation isn't fair. We've seen this before. Think Jalen Hurts early in Philly. Think Trevor Lawrence in that first chaotic Jacksonville year. But Shedeur? Different rules. Because every throw wasn't just a throw. It was a referendum on Deion, on the Sanders name, on whether letting confidence show was arrogance, on whether being coached by your father meant you were protected. He wasn't just playing cornerbacks and safeties. He was playing expectations, resentment, and a microscope that never turned off. And here's the part that still gets me. If that was anybody else, we'd be celebrating. We'd be talking about toughness, about poise, about leadership, about a quarterback who kept showing up no matter how ugly it got. Instead, it was framed as surviving instead of succeeding. That's the double standard. And fans see it, players see it, coaches definitely see it. Because football people know the difference between bad quarterbacking and a quarterback being asked to carry too much too early. Through all of this, the noise, the pressure, the constant judgment, Shedeur never ran from it. He didn't deflect. He didn't hide. He didn't fold. He took the hits, he took the criticism, and he kept lining up for the next snap. And through all of that, he never folded. This is the moment everything changes, not because of the noise, but because of how Shedeur Sanders responded to it. Because when that audio hit, when the league started buzzing and the timelines caught fire, a lot of young quarterbacks would have jumped out front. Tweets, subtle shots, victory laps, that urge to finally say, "See? I told you." Shedeur didn't do any of that. He went quiet, not disappeared, focused. And that tells you everything you need to know about where his head is at. While the internet was arguing, he was working. While people were debating motives, he was in the building. Film, footwork, timing, chemistry, all the unglamorous stuff that never trends but always shows up on Sundays. That's maturity. That's composure. That's a quarterback who understands that vindication only matters if you're ready when it arrives. And here's the dynamic people keep missing. Deion and Shedeur are playing two completely different roles in this moment. Deion is handling the politics, the pressure, the narratives, the power plays. That's his lane. That's where he's dangerous. Shedeur is handling the grind. And that separation? NFL teams notice that. Coaches notice that. Locker rooms definitely notice that. Because players don't care about headlines, they care about who shows up prepared, who takes accountability, who commands the huddle without forcing it. And everything coming out of buildings right now points to the same thing. Shedeur is respected. Not tolerated. Not carried. Respected. That's why this leak doesn't hurt his future. It strengthens it. It draws a line. It tells teams, this quarterback is confident, protected, and not desperate. And believe it or not, that matters. Teams respect confidence with boundaries. They respect players who don't need to beg, who don't need to be saved, who trust their work enough to let the tape speak. And that's exactly what Shedeur is doing. Letting the tape talk. Not the takes, not the narratives, not the noise. The throws, the reads, the poise, the growth. That's the currency in this league, and he's investing in the right places. This isn't about revenge. That's the lazy way to frame it. This is about leverage, about finally flipping the power dynamic that's been tilted against him since day one. The audio didn't make him better, it just removed the mask. It exposed the truth that teams already knew but wouldn't say out loud. And once that truth is out there, the next phase is inevitable. Because redemption arcs don't start with apologies. They start with preparation, with patience. With a quarterback who understands that the loudest statement he can make is on the field, under the lights, when the play clock hits 0 and everyone's watching. The league heard the audio. Now they're about to see the result. 2026 is the reckoning, and I'm not hedging on that. I'm saying it straight, with my chest. This is the year where everything people whispered about, everything teams danced around, everything the league tried to manage quietly, gets answered on the field. Not in meetings, not in leaks, not in segments, in games. In moments that decide careers. Because that's what this really is now. An inflection point. For Shedeur Sanders, for the teams that passed, for the coaches who hedged publicly and panicked privately. This is the season where belief turns into consequence, where evaluation turns into reality, and where you don't get to explain away what everyone can see with their own eyes. Here's what I believe clearly, no qualifiers. Shedeur Sanders is going to play winning football. Not perfect football, not highlight reel every drive football. Winning football. On-time throws. Command of the huddle. Toughness when things get ugly. Growth week to week. The stuff that actually keeps you employed in this league. And when that happens, a lot of people are going to get uncomfortable fast. Because if he succeeds, this isn't just about him being right. It's about other people being wrong. It's about draft boards that leaned on narratives instead of tape. It's about franchises that let fear of optics override football sense. It's about analysts who hid behind consensus instead of standing on evaluation. Careers get defined in moments like this, not just players, but decision makers too. So here's what fans should be watching for, beyond the box score. Watch how teammates respond to him when things go sideways. Watch how coaches talk about him after losses, not just wins. Watch whether the offense grows with him or in spite of him. Watch how defenses adjust, because respect shows up there first. And watch how quickly the conversation shifts from can he to why did we doubt him? And then there's the question nobody can dodge anymore. Did Deion Sanders cross a line? Or did he expose a system that's been broken for a long time? Because depending on how you answer that, you're really telling on how you see power in this league. Do you believe teams should control the narrative no matter what? Or do you believe truth matters, even when it's inconvenient? That's the debate. And it's not going away. Because more players are watching this than people realize. This isn't about chaos. It's about accountability. And once accountability enters the chat, the league has to adjust. So yeah, I want this debate in the comments. All of it. Was this the smartest move Deion's ever made for his son? Or did he make enemies that could complicate things behind the scenes? And for the teams that passed, do they get a pass if Shedeur balls, or do they wear that miss forever? That's what makes this moment electric. Because belief isn't quiet anymore. It's about to be tested in real time. The audio shook the league. The season is going to finish the job.